I was about 9 at the time, and I was just being slowly allowed to go where I wanted in my small village. Me and my friends spent our summer holidays going to new places that it seemed no one had been to. It seemed adventurous, but of course, we were only going 4 miles away from home to where farmers would regularly throw us off their land and threaten us with the police. They never did do anything, even if we were supposed to get caught again and again. We would also take my gold-hearted husky Wolfie. He was our bodyguard, I suppose. We were wandering around the outskirts of the village looking for somewhere to go. We had pretty much been everywhere when we came across the path. It wasn't like this path that appeared like magic and we had never seen it before. We had seen it every time we had set off for a walk, but it just looked boring. It was just an old road with a few bushes and a house about a quarter of the way down. To be honest, it was painfully boring. There was a field full of junk we had fun in for about a half hour or so, I guess. After about 2 hours, we came across the cornfield. It was such a relief. It was great. The corn was taller than our heads, and we had a warm, comforting glow about it. We decided to have a game of hide and seek, which I suggested because I could cheat by using the dog. After about 4 games, I was the seeker, and I was traveling through the vast amounts of corn, using Wolfie to track them down. He would sniff his way there and bark once we were there. He was pulling me towards the prize when he froze and began to whimper. I'd never seen him like this. He was running behind me and barking and crying. It scared the hell out of me. Suddenly, it went freezing cold. The temperature was about 20 degrees, and there I was, shivering like a leaf. A black figure swooped past me in the next row of corn. Wolfie pulled with all his might in the other direction, yanking me to the floor. He pulled free of his collar and ran off. I lay dazed on the floor, oblivious of what had just happened, when I heard Clark, one of the 3 friends I had with me that day, and also my best friend, scream. I shot up and followed the noise. When I got there, he was on the floor shaking, rocking backwards and forwards like a madman. I didn't dare approach him. He was freaking me out. At this time, he still hadn't noticed I was there until I shouted for Angus and Chelsea. He turned around and shouted to me to stay away and picked up a rock and threw it at me, cutting my head open. More than anything, I was shocked. It didn't hurt, but I guess that was the shock. I just turned around and ran. I don't know what I was thinking. About halfway through, I saw Angus and Chelsea holding Wolfie, put Wolfie's collar and lead back on, told Angus and Chelsea to run, and set off running again. Usually I was the slowest runner of my friends, but I was miles in front of them. I ran for about an hour when I finally got a long path. I collapsed on the pavement, out of breath with Wolfie nozzling his head into me, also panting desperately. Chelsea and Angus shortly followed. Without Clark, we sat on the pavement for 2 hours waiting for Clark. By this time, my face was a crusty red scab with red hand smears. Then we saw a staggering figure stumble out onto the road. It was Clark. His face was torn into shreds, as were his clothes. I ran towards him, yet he shouted at me to stay away. So Chelsea asked what was wrong. He answered to her. He told her that a man in the field had told him that I would be the cause of a death of someone close to him, and that a woman dressed in rags had attacked him. We never spoke to Clark after that. He became just another face, but his mom and my mom were friends, and they would regularly meet up at my house. And this one time when Clark's mom was at my house, I was outside messing about on my bike. She was just getting in her car to go home when a car flew around the corner and sped towards me. She ran up, pushed me out of the way, but sadly she was hit and died 2 days later in intensive care. 2 years later at school, I was in the bathroom throwing up when Clark busted in and grabbed me by my hair, dragged me across the floor, and banged my head on the floor several times, shouting he said it would happen. Angus burst and grabbed him off me and restrained him while I packed myself off the floor. I ran and got help. After that, we never saw him again. He moved away the next day. That's why he had done it that day. The last I heard of him, he had moved to Texas and tried to kill himself, but failed. To this day, I miss Clark, and I will never go in that evil field ever again.